Hello there, fellow cheap things. Welcome to a Bowie moment, the first in a series. Okay, so I don't know if you're aware of a guy called Vic Godard,
I feel like
but I certainly am. He's one of my favourite musicians, one of my favourite songwriters. He's a genius. I call him the greatest living Englishman. And if you don't know anything about him, well, he came out of the punk rock explosion, and in fact he played at the legendary 100 Club Festival with the Sex Pistols and the very first incarnation of Susie and the Banshees with Sid Vicious on drums, all that kind of stuff. But they were never really punk. They also played on the White Riot tour with the Clash. They shared the manager, Bernie Rhodes, with the Clash. They toured with Buzzcocks. There's just a legion of stories, but I've got to know Vic over the years, and he's a brilliant fella, and I got to know that he's a fan of David Bowie, and he told me one story about David that I thought was amazing, and I would like him to share with us. And so when he came in for a recent session with us, he did just that. But it turns out that he's not got just one great story about David Bowie, he's got a couple, and they really are whoppers, and you probably will be very envious when you hear them. So here you go, the greatest living Englishman, Vic Godard.
Tell me now then, how your Bowie story started.
First time I saw him up close was at the 1980 floor show at Behind the Marquee. We couldn't get in, the fans, there was too many people in there, so we went round the back. TV camera man said you can watch it all on the monitors in the back of the van if you behave yourself. So we were in the back of this van all the way through the film and saw all the guests coming and going, saw their performances being done, 3 or 4 times on the screen. And during the course of that, we saw his chauffeur, saw the big black car come with a big American guy, and Bowie came out. So later on, when I was working in a burger bar in Barnes, just round the corner from Olympic Studios, I happened to be cycling by there. I saw the car, and I thought, Bowie's in there, and the chauffeur was in there. So I knocked on the window. I said, is David Bowie in the studio? And he said, yeah, he is. What, do you want autographs? I said, yeah. And she said, well, come back at 10 o'clock, and that's when the session finishes, and I'll sort it out for you. So I went and got all my Bowie albums at 10 o'clock, cycled back round there, and sure enough, he came out. And, the chauffeur introduced me to him, and he was wearing a big sort of fur coat right down to his ankles practically, and a big fedora, and he just looked like an alien. He didn't look anything like a human being. But he was really friendly. He was actually, in a sort of like euphoric mood that he said he'd been working on his own, doing playing drums, bass and guitar on Rebel Rebel. He didn't say what it was called, but that was obviously what it was. And I don't think that version actually came out. That might have been the version that he got the musicians to learn.
Right,
I'm not sure whether what came out as Rebel Rebel was in fact his version of it.
Right, I think, but he certainly plays guitar on it, doesn't he?
Yeah, but I think that drum was a loop. I don't know if they might have just looped up a bit of drumming and made it into a loop in the old-fashioned way with cutting the tape. I don't know. But I remember when Rebel Rebel came out, the first version I got of it was the weird version. Have you ever heard the American import version with the weird
with the backing vocal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought, what the hell is... I didn't like it, know. And even to this day, it's one of my least favourite Bowie songs, Rebel Rebel. I don't know why. I think it was because I like the fact that he was sort of totally out there as an individual, and on that record I thought he was trying to copy the Stones, and I just didn't like that. I like him when he's being himself, like John I'm Only Dancing, Driving Saturday, but it was never the one that did it for me, Rebel Rebel, really.
Have you still got the signed albums?
Oh no, I got rid of those in the early 80s.
That's a shame.
Well, it is a shame because they're fantastic. I mean, they just sound great now. That's the thing about those albums, Space Oddity, particularly Hunky Dory. But to be honest, I don't really play that era of Bowie. Anyway, I'm really mad on the stuff before that. I like Images, and I still play that all the time. All the tracks of Images. Never really got over that era. But he sort of seemingly hated, didn't he, when they brought Laughing Gnome out as a reissue?
Yeah, well, he did write that as a kids' tune, didn't he,
Yeah.
originally?
I mean, that's not one of my favourites, but there's so many great tunes on that Images album.
Yeah, it just didn't work for him, did he?
No,
So
no.
that's why he just put it behind and tried lots of things.
That's
He went
it,
to doing
yeah.
the folky stuff then as
Yeah.
well, didn't he? And then, of course, Man Who Sold the World, which is a completely different beast altogether, and then Hunky Dory, which is different again.
Yeah.
So he just changed
But
every
Hang On
turn.
To Yourself is the track that became punk rock, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you listen to Hang On To Yourself, that is punk, just that they just turn it up a bit louder, and that is what a lot of punk is.
Did you
really.
get to see Bowie playing live around about that time?
Yeah, I saw him at the Odeon. Yeah.
Were you at the final gig?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I hate you even more. I thought I couldn't hate
You
you
know
anymore.
what I hated, though? Station to Station tour. I really didn't like that. I hated the whole sound of it. You know, like Johnny Britton, who's with me today. I mean, he said that was his first Bowie gig because he's a bit younger than me.
It's my first Bowie gig.
And he turned up in all the Bowie gear from like Ziggy Stardust. You know, he said he felt a complete prat when he came on in this sort of like dark waistcoat. And
But it's weird because I went, I can't remember which night it was. It might have been the Thursday night. Obviously, he did a few shows. And I had John Conte, the boxer, was sat behind me.
Oh, right.
I had one of the worst seats in Wembley. I was on the back bank.
Oh,
So
right.
Bowie was tiny.
Yeah.
And I looked round and John Conte was world famous at that point in time. Couldn't
Yeah.
get better tickets than me. I was a 15-year-old stroke from Wythenshawe, you know. But I have to say, weirdly, I was kind of a little bit disappointed because I'd seen all of the cracked actor footage
Yeah.
and all of the props and,
Yeah.
you know, the Philly dogs and all that kind of stuff. I expected more.
Yeah.
Of course, it was just a very stark set, wasn't it, with
Yeah.
Bowie dressed almost like a waiter. As the
I
Joker.
wasn't bothered about the set. I just didn't like the music.
Right.
I didn't like that really like over-treated guitar sound. You know, that it was like precursor to like what became like that big sort of grandiose 80s sound that all the groups copied. You know.
So you still don't like the album?
No.
Oh, mate.
No. It's not my sort of thing. I don't like. I'm always going on at my groups for using effects. See.
Right.
And Johnny was big on effects, but I've said to him, look, I love your guitar playing, but I want it to sound like a guitar.
So you weren't a fan of Earl Slick then?
Oh, no.
Right, okay.
Earl Slick, he was meant to be playing with Glenn Matlock or something, wasn't he? But he didn't turn up, wasn't it?
Did he not? Right, well, he was supposed to be on my
Yeah.
programme one night and he didn't turn
Yeah,
up.
we'll
so
say he's obviously one of these no-show geezers.
apparently, allegedly.
Needs a lot of money.
Yeah, maybe that. So you were at the Ziggy last show then?
Yeah.
Okay, and how was that for you? Did you like that, obviously?
I did, but in a qualified way. I didn't like all of it. I didn't like a lot of the. I liked half of it. I wouldn't say it, like it's not like one of my best gigs ever. It's not
Right.
like up there with the Sex Pistols or anything like that, or Charles Aznavour.
And had you seen Bowie before that one?
No.
Right,
it
that was the first time you saw him.
yeah.
Right, okay. Well, it seems like you've really, you know, I mean, having seen the 1980 floor show, albeit from a van,
Yeah.
and also the Ziggy's Last Stand, that's pretty amazing. And meeting him doing Rebel Rebel, it's huge.
I was nearly glad I didn't meet him a third time because we were practicing in 1977 in rehearsal. Rehearsal was in Camden, and there was a place opposite called Marine Ices, and our sound engineer Mickey Foote went over there with Bernie Rhodes, our manager, and Bowie was in there, wasn't he?
Wow.
And when they came back, Mickey came out. He said, "Oh, you're glad you didn't go over Marine Ices, Vic." I said, "Why is that?" He said, "Oh, you'd have wanted to crawl into a hole." He really steamed into him, Bernard, apparently, about, you know, because it was in the height of the punk era, and he said, "You've lost your fans," you know, and all this business.
So
And he
Bernie Rhodes was having a go at
yeah,
Bowie?
and apparently Bowie was really nice about it and wanted to hear all his comments, and at the end said, "Thank you very much, Bernard."
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he was really gracious, but Mickey said it was so embarrassing to be there. And I thought, oh, I'm glad I wasn't there.
No, yeah, can you imagine? Can we go back to the 1980 floor show? So it was filmed over 3 days, as I understand it. Did you just go on the one day?
Yeah, only on the one day. It was the one that Marianne Faithfull came in in her nun's outfit. That's the bit I remember, coming into the back door.
Wow, okay. All right, well, Vic, thank you very much, mate. I am supremely jealous, but I appreciate your time very much, mate.
That's all right.
So there you have it, the very first Bowie moment on Cheap Things, courtesy of Vic Godard, Subway Sect, legendary band. Okay, hope you enjoyed it. Cheers, bye-bye.